If we're unable to climb down the mountain, then we'll never know if there's another mountain to climb up. I feel like that's a very fitting quote for this chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. This chapter, it's a powerful chapter for many different reasons, and I personally prefer this chapter over the last chapter, actually. Like, Ida as a character, he's earned a lot of my respect after witnessing what I witnessed in this chapter. Like, for him to admit and find out his own flaws, like, to discover what was wrong, like, you know, his own issues, he really hasn't necessarily changed. People don't change that easy, according to what Stain said in the chapter, quoting him. But it's still a very great chapter just to show a character realizing their flaws. And it's something that makes me respect Ida a lot more. Like, what this chapter really goes to show is multiple things. Mainly, this is an Ida chapter, of course, and that's kind of what this entire arc has been focused on. It's been focused on Ida versus Stain, wanting him to get his vengeance, and him most likely becoming an anti-hero or a villain, and going off the hero route. And after witnessing what I witnessed in this chapter, there is something that was kind of clarified we can get. From after this chapter, it seems like the path of going down the anti-hero route or the villain route might be postponed for now. But from what Stain said in this chapter, he says to Ida, like, people don't change that easily. As soon as I saw that, I started thinking about some series I have read over the years, and I'm like, bro, that's fucking crazy shit. Like, just the way that was done. And I have to hand it to the writer once again, for once again making something very realistic. Like, in a certain approach, the way Ida as a character is handled with, the way he was going out for vengeance and wanted to get vengeance for his brother, to, you know, how Todoroki with his mother and father, you know, with their issues and all that. The way the mangaka handles these different issues are somewhat realistic, and to see how Ida's standpoint in this chapter, the way it was concluded, like, for instance, he gave up his arm, and at the end of the day, he really knows his flaws, but he hasn't changed. Like, in the act, he's on the path of developing. He's on that path to develop, and that's where he's going right now, but it's not an instant, like, spontaneous development taking place in this chapter. And that is what really threw me off when I was reading this chapter, because I'm still used to nowadays when I read a manga or watch an anime, I'm used to spontaneous development to where, like, a character will instantly change their psyche or mindset right off the fly or bat, and you're like, okay, they're different now. They've had this great development, they now think differently. But it wasn't really like that when it came to this chapter. It was more of the lines of setting up for the long-term development for Ida, because Ida now is down a path to where he realizes he fucked up. What he did was kind of wrong. He realizes the errors he made, but he hasn't necessarily changed completely. And that is great. Just to see that alone, I like that, because that is a great path just set up before Ida as a character, and it makes him such a different character from what we have gotten, because looking at the characters we've gotten, a lot of people are comparing Bakugo, Todoroki, and Izuku together as that they're like one united different character, kind of like how they're all similar. And I know there's a lot of comparisons that go on between those three, and I haven't read all into that type of stuff, but I know there is comparisons, and so I'm glad Ida is able to shine outside of the others as a character and be something very different and unique compared to the entire cast we have gotten from Boku no Hero Academia, which leads into the main discussion I used to talk about earlier on in the series. I really like how the mangaka focuses on characters that are not the main character. Like, when it comes to shonen nowadays, it usually has it to where the MC, our main character, like for instance Izuku, he would be the main spotlight, and the only development really taking place would be mainly for him. And I'm glad that so many individual characters are getting this development. Like, you know, Todoroki to Bakugo to getting to see what's going on with Ida. And I mean, other characters have gotten development. Like, Ochiko most likely is going down a really good route very soon with, you know, the hints and setup we've gotten for her as well with her parents and all other different situations. Just the way the mangaka is taking some of these characters is something that really makes this a character-driven story. Not just a story that's driven by the story, but it's driven by the characters. The characters are what really makes this series mesh together, and why I think so many of us really love the series week after week. It's because this is like a shonen that I think all of us have been wanting for many, many years, because it's different from the norm. I've expressed it many times about how the character's different, MC's different. I'm not going to get into that, because I've talked about that a lot, and I shouldn't have to express that anymore. But when it comes to other things, like when it comes to the feel, to the set, the way the quirks are used, to the battle formula of how, you know, some of the quirks were used in this chapter, like it's an essence of the person, and quirks are used as if it was an extension of their body instead of if it was an ability or power, it really adds a different dynamic to the series that makes me impressed with how the mangaka is able to give these characters different lives of their own with their abilities, and they don't really think of these abilities as if they're like abilities. They think of it as if it's an extension of their own damn body, like another limb. And the reason for this is because they've grew up with this, and this is a good, perfect example because multiple chapters back, you know, Izuku went through that entire development with his power because he learned that majority of heroes were born with their quirks, and it felt like it was part of their very being because they grew up with it, and that's how people look at that type of stuff. And so to see how the fighting took place in this chapter with, you know, how Izuku was using his quirk and he was using his mindset to overcome Stain and to punch him, and then also seeing how everybody was using their mind and quick thinking to be able to overcome each other, like how Stain was trying to use his mind, and when you saw it to how Todoroki was using his mind, and then also Ida on top of that was using his mind, they were each thinking about what they should do next, and the next thought that comes to their mind is like, okay, I need to do this to be able to overcome this guy, and it really adds a great flow to this chapter, because it's something you normally don't see nowadays, and I like that so much. I can't express that enough. I really can't. So, the chapter of Boku no Hero Academia this week, it sends a very powerful message to what the series is going to be about. Like, the message I got was that if the way the mangaka is trying to take this, like, if the mangaka is taking it down a route to where he's going to follow what Stain is trying to say, like, people don't change that easily, that might be future setup for some of the main themes or morals of the series. Like, we shouldn't expect characters to have instant shifts with their personality unless they go psychotic, but we shouldn't see characters shift instantly from, like, you know, the good side to the light side instantly. And that also gives me some future praise and respect for the series to probably even be able to feel like that when it comes to series, because I mean, Stain right now, from his development, we all know he most likely lived a past where he was a hero, and he went down a wrong route, and then he turned to what he did because he saw how heroes were, and that's probably why he now became some form of anti-hero villain or hero killer, is because of he used to be a hero. And the way that not everything is black and white, and how a lot of characters will not be able to change like that, it makes me love the series. So I think that's about it. I think I've rambled on enough about this chapter to get the point across. The chapter is fucking epic, focusing on Ida. It did a really good job just showcasing what the series is about, what the mangaka is trying to do with Ida as a character. And the big question I have right now, actually, one thing I want to say before I conclude this video, if you know, Ida was supposed to have something very bad happen to him. Remember, before this arc even started, we had a monologue or like a narration from Izuku. Izuku said, like, I wish I would have stopped him. Now, of course, at the end of the chapter, you see it to where Ida, he sacrifices his arm. But let's put this into consideration. Let's really think about this, okay, in logical fashion. We do know there is a person called Recovery Girl that can heal people. And Izuku has been in some bad situations. Very bad. And so I'm assuming that Ida hasn't lost his arm for good because of Recovery Girl, but you also got to factor in Recovery Girl was always there right after Izuku got hurt, so there could be a time frame limit, but I don't think Ida lost his arm. I don't really think that, so I feel like there's something else going on here, but if it is the arm, okay, but I don't necessarily believe it if it's the arm, because the way the narration was done, it made me feel like there was something much darker. For instance, like the reason why I said Death Flag for last week's video, because the way the mangaka has taken this series, it makes me think there's much more to it. I mean, this was a shocking revelation to Ida's character. Very good development, even though it was, like, not instant development. It was very good development. So, we'll have to see. We'll just see where the manga takes it next week, and we'll see exactly if it really is the arm that, you know, Izuku was upset about and wish he would have stopped, or was it something else? We'll see. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Do you feel like Stain is knocked out for good? Do you feel like he's down for the count, or do you feel like he's going to get up again next chapter? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.